What's up, Jays? This is Saber94. Got a brand new deck profile using Pokemon from the new 151 Kanto set. Looking at one of my favorites today for sure. We're going to be looking at a deck with Golem EX. So, Golem, I've always liked the Geodude and the Golem line, especially Geodude, but ever since I made that TCG overview many years ago now, you can find the video on my channel and the article on Alpha Trading Card Games. The Pokemon line has grown even more for me. I really like Golem. Unfortunately, the cards they make for it are always bad, and this one is kind of no exception. It's a very difficult Pokemon to make work. It doesn't really have that much to stand out. Its HP is standard. Bottom stats, I guess, are standard. Big Retreat, that's bad. Grass weakness. Rock Blaster is weak, 180 for 3, and it just ignores resistance. That's not that good. Should have been at least like 220 and ignored resistance, something like that. 220, 230, but anyway. The thing it supposedly has going for it, which isn't that good, is Dynamic Roll. You do 50 for 1, and then next turn, any attack you use does 120 more damage. So if you do Dynamic Roll next turn, you're doing 170 for 1, so plus 50 you did the first time, that's 210. So it's like you did 110 between the two turns, or if you do Rock Blaster, you do 300 damage. So basically what this means is that this guy is good at getting 2-hit KOs if your opponent doesn't mess with your plan. So if you do Dynamic Roll, and the next turn you can do Rock Blaster, you did 50 damage, next turn you're doing 300 damage, so that's 350. You're getting 2-hit KOs, no doubt, on anything. That's pretty much the only thing it has going for it. It's not that good. Unfortunately, such a cool Pokemon. I mean, just look at this full art. So cool. Gotta love Golem. But it just is not that good, damn it. It's very difficult to work with. I tried a different deck using Pidgeot EX. It never worked, was too inconsistent. Trying to use him as a tank and heal. I tried to just use a deck, run the turbo DCs to just use the first attack and then go for Rock Blaster, do that shit, as opposed to just tanking. Didn't work. I was tempted to use him in Expanded. I'm thinking maybe I'll use him there and it'll work. But in the end, we're still using him in Standard. And I'm going to use him with the Claydol. So this is a card from Silver Tempest. It basically acts like the Energy Acceleration Pokemon you'd expect that get energies from the Disc Pile. You can get energies and attach to the active too, not only on the bench. But the big drawback of this card is that if you have supporter cards in your Disc Pile, you cannot use them. So this is a deck with no supporter cards basically. I've used the deck with Claydol before. Surprisingly, you can make a deck that's not that inconsistent with this guy. If you just run a bunch of item-based draw cards and Barrel and Greninja, it almost makes me question if we can do other things like that don't involve supporters. But nevertheless, I mean, this is what this deck is going to be about. I'm just going to try and get the Claydol out, power up this guy, and just try and two-shot things. You know, use Dynamic Roll. Maybe if we can't get multiple energies with Claydol yet. And then use Rock Blaster to just go for that 300 next turn. That's pretty much it. I mean, you can really substitute Golem with any other fighting Pokemon. I guess that's a stage 2, stage 1, or even basic with this list that I'm using. So, I mean, it really is just my excuse to use Golem. It's not like this has to be Golem. Okay. But yes, there's not going to be any supporters in this deck. We're going to make use of Claydol for energy acceleration and just try and overwhelm our opponent. Hopefully with Golem it should be good enough. I got the other Golem too. This is from Fusion Strike. I think that's what this set is called. This isn't that great of a Pokemon. Once again, it's a stage 2 with 180 HP. It only does 160 for 3, and then it also hurts itself for 30, which is absolutely terrible. So it's like the trade-off is 130 for 3 on a stage 2 Pokemon in this era. It's bad, but it has a good ability at least. Anything that kills it gets 10 damage counters, so that's kind of strong. So between 160 and then 10 damage counters, that's 260 total if things go according to plan. It's just a regular Pokemon that we can use to attack. I decided to just keep it in, or put it in, since we're using Golem anyway. regular attacker, never know, could come up. And the golems are just 3. I got 4 Geodudes as well. I only have this one from Fusion Strike. If there's any other better ones from 151, I wouldn't know. But I do know the Graveler here is also better from Fusion Strike. Man, I hope I'm saying the name right. I think that's what the name of the set is called, but I might be wrong. But yeah, this guy is just better with his attacks than the new Graveler. The new one does look cool, but this one is better. And that's pretty much it for the Golem line. Is really the only attacker. I guess you can make Claydol attack too, 70 for 3, but that would be bad. We're doing a 3 of Claydol though, and 3 of Boltoy. I only have 1 of the psychic ones, so whatever. I mean, it has the best HP. This guy, I guess, can attack, but he's not going to be that good. Find a friend, we can grab a Pokemon in hand. But if you leave this guy active doing 50, with 50 HP trying to do this, you're going to lose anyway. And then slap. Then I've got the Bibarel line. This is extremely important. You need this. It's your only way to just draw a lot of cards every turn without using a supporter. So we do 2 Bibarel and then 2 Bidoof. You might even just make the argument that we should be running more in a deck like this because we don't have supporters. But with Greninja and the item-based draw, it sort of worked out for me. You gotta remember, we need a lot of spaces on the bench too. I can't have multiple Bibarels. Even if I had, even if you can play both of them down, if you do, I mean, there's just less space for Claydols, your attackers, if there's Greninja burning up space there, or Manaphy. So it is rough in this deck. And then the other Pokemon left are the water guys. I mean, Manaphy for the bench protection, and then Greninja, Radiant Pokemon of choice. Absolutely mandatory in this deck once again. Giving us solid draw through an ability, discarding the fighting energies too. Combos with Claydol. Gotta have it, obviously. And then we do trainers. All of them are going to be items, and I guess the stadiums. Stadium of choice is going to be Lake of Acuity. Yeah. Just to give my Golem a little bit of extra defense. You could technically do Path to the Peak in this deck once you don't really need to use Greninja. But I decided I want to make the guy tank. I just want the Golem to take hits. Take 2 hits ideally. I wish I could have the space to put in the tool that blocks 30 damage on. Maybe some healing. I did have a lot of ideas with Golem, but it's just very difficult. I really just would have rather he just had an attack that did like 150 for 1 Earthquake and then hit your guys for 10, something like that. Just something simple. But anyway. So that's the stadium, and then we have shitloads of items, of course. Do the 3 Nest Ball, 4 Level Ball, do triple Ultra Ball, or 4 Ultra Ball. What am I talking about? Just all of these cards to basically grab my Pokemon and evolution Pokemon. I mean, really, I guess you could do 4 Nest, 3 Level Ball, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Level Ball lets me just grab something in hand when my bench is full. So, you know, you deck thin that way too. So 4 and 3, but I mean, if you want to do 4 and 3 for Level Ball, not going to make that much difference. We max out the pickaxe. This is something that can give me energy acceleration, but it's really there for item-based draw. Once again, trekking shoes, gotta have it as well. Max it out. More draw. 1 energy search to get an energy. Use it with Greninja. Deck thinner card once again. And rare candy for Golem. Gotta have this. 1 switch. This can't be very useful sometimes, even with Claydol. We're not always gonna have a bunch of them out to get energy. And then I decided to have the Super Rod for a little bit of recovery. You never know, we might need to recover some Pokemon. Maybe you could take this out because this is meant to be a very fast deck as it is. But just having that bit of recovery is going to be good. Never know. So I decided to use this as opposed to something else for consistency. And I mean, this is really the deck. Fighting energies, just 11 of them for the energies, and that's it. It's a very, you could say simplistic deck, but you got to get the numbers just right. I'm confident in you know, me putting in the effort and the thinking to just make sure this is right. I've used the Claydol deck before, so I did have a blueprint to use. But I mean, really, if you would drop, let's say, the Golem, drop the candies, and just put some of the other basic fighting Pokemon attackers, it might even be more effective, to be honest. But because we want to use Golem, because I like him so much, and because I did craft a bunch of these, I wanted to make the deck work. I tried using it a bunch of different ways. It wasn't working out. This is the best way I found to make it work out in Standard. So I'm going to show you guys matches, as always. It's going to be cool. It's going to be something fun at the very least. If you can get some victories with Golem and Claydol, then you can brag up to anybody. And yes, nothing else really to add. Now, we can't use supporter cards. We can't really use anything else. I mean, I thought of maybe should I find a way to squeeze V's, putting the tablet Curse Seal Stone, but not really gonna work out once again. Just gotta keep it simple. That's the way to go. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I'll see you guys on the matches, of course, as always. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, share the video with your friends, and I'll see you guys there. What a